Welcome to you, future leaders. This video will provide you with a leader's agenda to equip and guide you on your leadership journey.
A leader's agenda is based on how a leader actually leads. It asks what it is that leaders must do to lead effectively.
This video will demonstrate our chosen leader, Nick Christelis' leadership agenda in relation to the head, heart, and hands model of leadership. Nick, please can you introduce yourself and what you do and how many people you lead and what organization do you work for?
Right now, I head up my own organization, a business consultancy that specializes in strategy and in leadership. Okay, I have many years ago run an organization of my own, a marketing business, which employed at its end about 300 people. And I think I learned a lot of lessons from that and got into consulting by default, you could say, some 25 to 30 years ago.
And how many people have you led?
Over the years, I suppose if you added them up, it would be in thousands.
Nick, why are you as a leader so successful? What is it that you did that got you where you are today?
The bottom line is you have to have a passion for what you do. And when you've got your passion, it's that passion that others buy into. They have to feel that you love what you do. Leadership is an affair of the heart. So, you know, if you've got a passion for what you do, if your purpose is behind you, I would say that that's more than half the battle of leadership won.
How do you as a leader provide a sense of purpose for the group that you lead?
What's important is to create a vision for the company that is a vision that taps into that human need, that human aspiration to be part of something great. People are not going to buy into the vision of making a profit or returns for shareholders. To me, those things are the results. That's the measurement that we're on track. And I think it's important to have a vision that taps into something a lot broader than that.
Nick, how do you set performance expectations for the people that you lead?
The more people are involved in coming up with key objectives, in discussing how we're going to execute these objectives, in discussing the standards, the more they buy into these things.
How would you involve someone? How would you get them to be involved?
I think you've got to make sure as a leader that you're a good listener. Right? Because if you're a good listener, it encourages people to speak up and to talk.
Nick, I'm going to just expand on your answer. How do you communicate this in a way that it's effective?
Leaders tell stories. Stories go to the head, they go to the heart, they motivate the hands, right? Stories, stories, stories. And then the most important thing, leaders communicate through their actions. They then walk the talk. If the leader says the customer is king, how do they communicate that? Right, through the way that they treat customers.
We're going to go to the next item, which is leading from the heart. Yeah. Basically, this talks about how you keep the people that you lead inspired, motivated, and valued within your organization.
Trust is absolutely implicit, and the things that really build trust are, number one, open, transparent communication, which I mentioned. Number two, you need to be really visible. You don't trust people who are distant and remote from you. Very important is leaders show people that they are interested in them as human beings. It is important too that people have their own vision and their own purpose. Leaders leave space for people to start realizing, why am I here and why am I doing this, right? Where am I going in my life? And they provide opportunities for people to answer that question, and then so that people can see that the journey of the organization and my personal journey are both going side by side, right? The more I help the organization achieve its purpose, the more I can achieve my purpose.
How do you keep your people that you lead on your side in terms of them willing to perform for you and with you and maintain good relationships with them.
When it becomes boring because I can do it with my eyes closed and there's nowhere for me to go, that is when you lose people and they don't follow you. So the answer is you got to develop them. If you can't develop them up, you got to develop them sideways. Allow them to be part of projects in other divisions, departments. For example, maybe somebody needs to do a sales project. Somebody who's in production needs to do a sales project, so that they can be involved in what the salespeople are doing, so they can understand what the sales role is all about, and so that they're learning, and when they go back to their production role, they have a broader picture of an understanding of the business and can add a lot more meaningful value across the business.
When you get to work, what do you do to progress the business?
I think the most important thing is wherever I'm trying to lead people, I make sure I'm visible. And when I walk into work, I definitely will walk through different departments, greet people, connect with them, ask them how they're doing, see if I can help with anything. Get to people's level and talk to them like a human being. Let them feel you are human. So I think it's to be visible, to be real, to be human, and to connect with people at a very human level.
Next, we're going to talk about the hand component of leadership, about how you motivate your team and how you get them to perform to the standards that you need them to.
I think that firstly it's about very clear expectations. Again, it comes to clear communication, because just because the leader has an image in their head of what needs to be done and how it should look, the standard, and by when it should be delivered, you got to take real trouble to make sure you communicate that so that the same picture sits in the head of the follower. Because when that same picture sits in the head of the follower, then the hands will follow.
How do you make sure people in your organization do what they should do on time and to the standard that you desire?
Okay. It starts off again with clear expectations, making sure people know clearly what is expected and know the importance and the relevance of those standards and objectives with regard to the vision and the strategy of the business. Okay? That's the first thing. So clear objectives and knowing why we do that, that's important. Now, secondly, if a person's performance is not according to standard, right, you need to give the constructive negative feedback, right? And you need to give the feedback firstly in a way that you coach the individual in a two-way dialogue with regards to exactly what is going wrong or what went wrong. And unfortunately, many leaders don't quite know how to do that. But the first thing is to make clear that there's a gap between a required standard and the way that you have performed. It's to establish that gap. If you have the right approach to deviation from standards, it creates a culture where people stick to what's required. If you ask yourself, whenever you've achieved something, it's because the head, the heart, and the hands have been aligned.